Take my bride, let's go for a ride in my newfangled automobile. Just where we will go, nobody knows, but it's sure a great way to feel. Behind the wheel of the speed meter steel, it's my newfangled automobile.
Hello and welcome to Vintage Car History. I'm Wild Bill. Across the pond in England, Riley is one of those makes of cars that have some very enthusiastic collectors. The car clubs that are all about vintage and or classic Rileys are the who to go to people if you want to get anything for or about a Riley. And like all very passionate car clubs, preserving the history of the cars and the Riley Motor Company is just as important as preserving the cars themselves. So let's take a look at the very early history of Riley. William Riley Jr. was born in 1851 in Coventry, England. His family owned a large weaving business and had achieved significant wealth through the textile industry. He was well educated in business and indeed took over the weaving mill at the age of 19. He proved quite skilled, and for the next 15 years or so, the company prospered. William did as well, for by 1890 he was married and had 5 sons. In the late 1880s, William saw that he was now starting to lose quite a bit of business to the cheaper textiles imported from the continent. He began to look around for other business opportunities, and a friend of his, Henry Sturmey, the inventor of the 3-speed bicycle wheel hub, unsurprisingly suggested bicycles. Bicycles were all the rage in England during the 1880s and 90s, Coventry being no exception. He decided to get into that business, and so in 1890 he purchased a local bike manufacturer, the Bonnick Cycle Company, and left the weaving business entirely. They were a reputable company making modern safety bikes, modern for the time. Under William's leadership, the cycle company did quite well. At the same time, his sons began to take a particular interest in the new bike company. His oldest son, William Victor Riley, he personally used his middle name to avoid confusion, was the first to join him in the bicycle business. Victor convinced his dad to rename the company, and so in 1896, the Riley Cycle Company Limited was born, the first vehicles to bear the name Riley. The bicycle craze was still flourishing in England, and all 5 of William's sons, Victor, Alan, Percy, Stanley, and Cecil, themselves became cycle enthusiasts and would eventually join the new family business. They would also notice motorcycles and cars slowly coming onto the scene, and with the Red Flag Act rescinded in late 1896, England was poised to be a major player in that emerging industry. But Daddy William was not so impressed. There was no sign of the bike industry slowing down, and so it took a lot of persuasion to get him to have anything to do with anything but pedal power. 3 of his sons in particular, Victor, Alan, and the middle son, Percy, were particularly interested. Indeed, Percy was only 14 when in 1896 he left school to join the company with the intent of motorizing the family product. Papa was very much opposed to the idea, so Percy had to build his car in secret to avoid a good whipping. Yet he did so, completing his car in 1898. It was a 2-seater with a single-cylinder 2-horsepower engine and belt drive to the rear wheels. Interesting thing about the engine is how he designed the valves for it. They were mechanically operated instead of relying on the natural suction produced by the piston moving in the cylinder. Percy put one of these engines on a bicycle of theirs, thus making a motorcycle, and now he needed to sell the idea to his father. He quite intentionally designed it so that it would still be primarily pedal-powered, but would have the motor there to assist if on a steep grade. William reluctantly relented, and so the first motorized Riley left the factory in 1899. Papa allowed a few prototypes of motorized tricycles and quadricycles to be built and sold, but was still very sternly against the idea of making cars. And so the 3 brothers went behind his back, Victor, Percy, and Alan, to start their own company, the Riley Engine Company, in 1902. They pooled their own resources to do it, but didn't quite have enough money. so they enlisted the help of their mother to not only gather the remaining funds to get rolling, but also to keep it hidden from their dad. In William's mind, motor vehicles were a threat to the family business, and to dabble in them was treason. By 1904, the cat was out of the bag. The new company at first just offered the engine that Percy designed, but Percy went and designed a car, and Dad caught wind of it. He was furious, but his sons and wife survived the fury and passionately pleaded to allow this to continue. Cars, not bikes, were the future. He was still not convinced, but instead challenged them to prove him wrong, which they did. In 1904, Percy designed and built a completely new motor vehicle, the four-car. It would be the first car to bear the name Riley, and was put into production the same year. It was a three-wheeler, two in front and one in back. The V-twin 9-horsepower engine was a solid design, and the following year was used in the first four-wheel car produced by the Riley family, despite the patriarch's wishes. Production of the car began in earnest in 1906. This would be the first generation of the Riley 9. 9-horsepower V-twin, 3-speed transmission and chain drive. What made this car popular was the price tag, 168 pounds. They sold very well, and in 1907, Papa William relented and began to support, to some extent, the new company. He wasn't ready to give up on bikes, but his sons did prove that they could make money selling cars. He incorporated their company into the family business and ceased their motorcycle production to put that money into the car business. With Dad's support, the Riley Motor Company expanded. Percy designed a new car for 1907, the 1218, the name of which refers to its horsepower. This car was also very successful in the marketplace, and in 1911, William completely repented of his car hatred and fully supported his son's vision. He ceased production of bicycles entirely and retooled his company to make spoked wheels for cars, his son's cars. The modern Riley Company, as we know it, was formed in 1913 by Victor, Allen, Percy, and Stanley. The first product of the Riley Motor Manufacturing Company would be the 1713 model, which received rave reviews at the 1913 London Motor Show, where it debuted. Of course, World War I would break out the next year, and the products of the company during and after the war are a tale for another day. Yet, across Britain and around the world, fans of Riley cars are passionate about their history. And when you look at that history, you can see why. Thanks for watching Vintage Car History, and we'll see you next week. Peace.